Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is what equipment should I learn? And this is geared for guys who are new to the industry, who really don't know what machines they should focus on in the beginning, what machines they should focus on learning for later in their career, and how to kind of future-proof yourself. But before we get into it, I did want to say on the 24th of January, I am going to go live here on my YouTube channel at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. That's PM. I'm not going live at 7:30 in the morning. Calm down. But we are going to go live, and we're going to keep this kind of an open topic, but it is a way for me to really open up a two-way dialogue. That is my goal ultimately with this channel. I want it to be a source of education for new guys getting into the industry. And so that's my goal with these live events that I'm going to start doing. After the 24th, it is my goal that we're going to start doing them every Sunday night at 7:30 at the same time. That way guys are home, they're kind of coming down for the evening, and we can get together and actually have a two-way dialogue, and we can start bouncing some questions off each other. So 24th, 7:30 p.m., be here. We're going to go live and we're going to have a chat. So that's number one that I wanted to get out of the way. The second thing I wanted to get out of the way is I have now added a donation section onto my website store for guys who don't necessarily want a t-shirt or a hat, but you do want to support the channel. If you go under the store section, you will see the donate buttons there. And I would really appreciate any support that you can throw my way. Like I've said before, I am doing this full time. I do not have a day job. And so it is whatever you guys help me out with that we can keep this channel growing. We can start doing some cooler, bigger stuff. So all that to say, let's get into equipment. So what machines should you learn when you're getting into the industry? The easy answer to this one is all of them, and as many as you can learn. The more versatile you are in this industry, the more future-proof you're going to be, the more you're going to be asked around for on different job sites, because instead of you only being able to run an excavator or only being able to run a dozer, and I know guys that are this way in the industry, that's all they can run is one machine, but that really limits you into only doing that. And so you may get on some crews that they need you to be more versatile, and you've totally locked yourself out of that opportunity because you only know how to run a dozer. So I would say kind of an overall broad answer to this is run them all, learn them all. But to get more specifically, if you're just getting into the industry, I would absolutely encourage you to start out with a skid steer and a mini excavator. The reason I say that is these two machines have so many traits that will carry over to almost every other machine you're going to run in the industry. For instance, let's take the mini excavator. Mini excavators have a blade on them. So not only are you going to know how to dig with an excavator, which is going to serve you for the rest of your career, it's also going to introduce you to how to doze with a machine. You're going to start getting used to what it feels like to have the machine pitch up and down and how you need to respond with that blade accordingly. Likewise, if we flip over the skid steer, you are going to do a lot of dozing in a skid steer. Believe it or not, you actually use your skid steer as a dozer quite a bit. And so you're going to get those same concepts of learning how to react with the bucket as you're creating the grade out in front of you. Other concepts that are going to apply to other machines, obviously these skid steers and CTLs are loaders. So you're going to learn really valuable concepts like how to get a full bucket without tearing up the machine and slamming into the pile. You're going to learn how to load trucks. You're going to learn how to drop gravel out of the bucket in a controlled manner as you're backing up so that you can actually, kind of similar to a tailgate spread with a dump truck, except you're doing it with the bucket of the excavator. You're going to learn how to dump material in a regulated manner, which is going to serve you if you ever move into a loader seat and you're dumping stone or something into a hole with guys doing pipe work. So there's a lot of concepts with those two machines that you can apply almost to the rest of your career and across a bunch of different situations and a bunch of different machines, because so many of those concepts apply in other areas. So those are the first two machines I would highly encourage you to learn. If I had to pick a few machines that I would say you absolutely need to have under your belt, hands down an excavator. Every freaking job out there runs an excavator, and to be able to use one makes you highly versatile and highly desirable. Secondly, I'm going to tell you, learn how to run a dozer. And I don't mean just a big D6R with a 4-way blade on it. I mean, go learn how to run a dozer with a 6-way blade. And I would highly encourage you to start on a D3 or a D4, now known as a D1 or a D2. The reason I say that is when you have a small dozer, you have a much shorter track base, which means that you have to be a lot more responsive on your controls in order to carry a nice flat smooth grade. And trust me, in the beginning it sucks, it's miserable, it's discouraging. Stick with it and learn how to grade in those small dozers, because when you translate over to a D6, you have a much longer track base. You've already got the finesse in your hands and you've got the feel in the seat. Now you get in that big dozer with the long track base and you can literally grade a lot to look like glass. It's so flat because the skills are there. The knowledge is already there from the smaller machines, and it just gets easier with the big machines. It's far easier to spend the time in the beginning sucking it up than it is to think you're a great finish dozer operator and then get thrown into one of the smaller dozers and realize that you can't really finish grade that well. So those are two of the machines that I would highly recommend you know to stay on jobs and make yourself versatile. On top of knowing the skid steer, again, I would absolutely start there just because so many things translate and there's almost always a skid steer even just doing cleanup on these larger jobs. So those are three machines that'll really get you kind of versatile. Now from branching out there, it's really up to you in what industry you're in and what you're kind of pursuing. For me, I would say it's really, really helpful to learn how to run a loader. These are skills that are going to translate from what you've learned in your skid steer days. You're going to know how to backblade and you're going to know how to kind of smooth things off in a loader because of the concepts you learned in that skid steer. It's just on a much larger scale and the machine moves a little bit differently. I would highly encourage you, if you're someone that really likes a challenge, you like being on the go all day long, you like being mentally stimulated, loader is a great position on the job site, especially if you can get on with a pipe crew. There is no downtime. You are constantly on the move. You're handling the logistics of the job site. You have 10 hats on at any given time on the job site when you're running a loader. So for me, it was stressful, don't get me wrong, but it was a really fulfilling job because not a lot of people can handle that kind of workload. And it keeps you busy all day long. You start that machine up in the morning and before you know it, it's 6:30, 7 o'clock at night and the whole day went by. I mean, it's just action-packed all day long. Another machine that I would really encourage guys to learn, especially if you're really worried about future-proofing yourself, learn a grader. That is one of the areas in the industry that is really hurting right now because so few people can run a grader and all of the old timers are retiring out of the industry. I've talked to multiple guys on the phone who've kind of been asking me questions about this, and hands down the one I tell them every time, if they're really worried about keeping a job, making the best wages, go learn how to run a blade. It is a critical skill to have on the job site, and people who can do it effectively are getting fewer and fewer and fewer between. So I would highly encourage you, if you have an interest. It is tedious work, don't get me wrong. It's not fun. It's gonna be a lot of very long, full concentration days. So mentally, it's gonna be pretty exhausting. But that being said, once you learn how to run a grader and carry grade, do the tight piece work right up against curbs, against manholes, doing all of that finish work, it is a really fulfilling job, first of all. And secondly, you're pretty much going to be able to write your own ticket because so few people are still able to run a blade good. I don't know what you're supposed to say there. Anyway, another area, kind of shifting gears altogether, another area that I would highly encourage you to get into, especially if you're worried about future-proofing yourself, is go into hoisting. Learning a crane is going to take time. It's not a quick thing that you just jump in the seat. You are going to have to go for your CCO, which is your certified crane operator license. That being said, cranes I would put right up there with graders in the sense of no one is learning that skill now, and there is a giant sucking sound in the industry when it comes to cranes. They're actively pulling guys out of retirement right and left, paying them really, really good money to come build these wind farms, to do these large skyscraper projects, because at the end of the day, there just aren't operators filling the seats for the guys who are retiring out of the industry. So if you have any interest in the hoisting side, I would highly encourage you. I would actually push you that direction, just because, don't get me wrong, I love the earth moving industry. That's my industry, that's what I'm all about. But at the same time, the crane industry is hurting so bad for operators. You almost have to try not to get a job in that industry if you've gotten your license. proven yourself to be a decent operator. They're just hurting really bad for operators. So that kind of wraps up most of what I have to say on this. You know, obviously, if you guys have more questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If there's a piece of equipment that I left out that you really think should be mentioned, by all means. You know, I kind of do these videos on the fly, and I've thought about it a little bit, obviously, but at the same time, I very well could have left out a critical piece of equipment that one of you guys thinks of, and yeah, I look like an idiot afterwards. So, all that being said, comment down below. If you have any questions for me on any of these machines or kind of where to get your start, shoot me a comment, shoot me a message, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.